I hope you've been enjoying this series so far. I've been spending a lot of time on this recently and trying to get everything scripted, recorded, edited, and uploaded hopefully by the 1-year anniversary of Silent Hill 2 Remake. After this, we just have Laura to check out and we'll finally be done. Not that you care about the behind the scenes, but this is the 9th script I've written in the last week or so, and I haven't even started the recording process yet. And just so you know how much I'm dedicated to this, I'm taking the time to write this instead of finally playing Chronos: The New Dawn, which I just picked up today and is staring at me from across the room. Granted, I have 19 days from writing this to get this project done, but I still feel like I just don't have the time. Also, Silent Hill F comes out next week as well. Gonna be a fun October once I get around to everything. Anyway, let's get on with the show and take a look at what Remake did with Eddie. Leading up to the release of Remake, we had little to no information or footage of Eddie. I haven't bothered to try and find out why that is, and I don't really care, but it was odd that we had seen everyone but Eddie in pre-release trailers and gameplay footage. And to be honest, Eddie was the character I was most worried about because he was the one I was most worried would get changed the most. Were they going to keep him as the psychotic, bullied loner who takes pleasure in killing people? Or was he going to get turned into something more politically correct? I think it's safe to say that not only did they not do that, but they leaned into making Eddie seem even more unhinged and threatening by the end of the game. Unlike Maria and Angela, we don't get any new scenes with Eddie that weren't in the original, and aside from the shared scene he has with Laura, they all take place in the same areas. That particular one takes place in a movie theater this time instead of the bowling alley, but otherwise it's the same scene. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the first scene in both versions. The events of each scene are the same, though the timing is slightly different. In Remake, this scene precedes the scene with Pyramid Head and the mannequins, whereas in the original, it follows after. That's why in Remake, there's no reference to him at all. Dialogue is tweaked just a little with Eddie, not specifically mentioning monsters, instead simply referring to something that came at him. Now, this may or may not be significant. Given what we know later, most of what Eddie sees in town are people, specifically people making fun of him or mocking him because of his appearance. I think the change here could be because by saying them instead of monsters, it leaves it open to speculation. Has Eddie been seeing monsters like James has? Which I think James infers from Eddie's statement. Or has he only ever seen people who want to hurt or bully him? Again, I think this makes the situation more open to interpretation, so that when players reach the end, they look back and say, wait a minute, what was it Eddie saw before he met James exactly? Also, just before I get any further, I think Remake did a great job with capturing Eddie's rather corpulent appearance, though he seems a lot sweatier this time around. We also seem to be able to see his breath frequently too, which may be a contrast to what Angela says about the heat and possible persistent flames in her version of Silent Hill. For Eddie, it's colder. Anyway, as is typically the case with Remake, the voice actor is an improvement over the original. OG Eddie still sounded fine, though I don't quite know how to describe his tone. Obnoxious loudmouth might be the best way I could describe him. More accurately, a dumb, obnoxious loudmouth. Eddie is a little more toned down in this department, and I actually felt bad for Eddie in this scene. True, he goes off the rails as the story progresses and a bit murderous, but I don't think that's the case here. He immediately denies having something to do with the dead man in the kitchen in the apartment he's hiding out in. I think one could probably argue that maybe this was a lie, given how Eddie turns out and what he later admits to having done in the past, but I think at this point we're supposed to believe him. I certainly think Remake makes it more probable that Eddie really didn't have anything to do with it. The man sounds genuinely terrified, but perhaps that's just denial. Either way, both versions of Eddie show him vomiting into the toilet due to what he's seen. Either this is just his reaction to seeing a dead body, or nausea from the guilt of having just killed someone. It's really sort of open to interpretation, but I think Remake Eddie sounds much more believable as someone who has just seen something terrifying. Eddie really does sound scared and desperate for help. And just like the original, Eddie isn't from Silent Hill, but has been called there by the town, though neither he nor James really understand what's happening. The biggest change, though, is Eddie asking James if he could tag along and they could leave together. James's response is that he's not able to leave himself just yet because he's looking for someone. Now, obviously, we as the audience understand that James is being truthful here, and when he tells Eddie to be safe, James sounds like he really means it. However, it's obvious that Eddie doesn't take it this way, as the next scene will confirm. He simply responds with a clearly disappointed and even dejected, "Oh." He sounds genuinely upset that James doesn't want to have him along, and it actually kind of hurts to hear. As far as we know at this point, Eddie is just another normal guy who got called to the town, and so, for now, we're supposed to feel sympathy for him, and I think that works a lot better here. The next scene is the scene between Eddie and Laura. I'll include that here since it does involve Eddie's dialogue.
So what'd you do? Robbery? Murder?
Nah, nothing like that.
Huh, you're just a gutless fatso.
What'd you have to say that for?
I thought you said the cops were after you.
No, I just ran because I was scared. I don't know what the cops are doing.
But if you did something bad, why don't you just say you were sorry? Well, I guess I run away a lot too.
It's no good. They wouldn't listen. Nobody will ever forgive me.
This is boring.
You didn't seem bored a minute ago. Screamed your head out, didn't you? You should have seen your face.
I told you, it was this big rat. Jumped right at me from under the seat. You would have screamed too if you saw it. Gutless fatso.
Hey, what do you have to say that for?
Anyway, why are you sitting here? I thought you said the cops were after you.
Nah, I don't think they follow me here. Besides, I blocked the door, so no one could get in. Not the cops, and not these other monsters.
You're weird.
Yeah, that's what everyone always says.
Well, I guess people call me weird too. And they yell at me, especially when I do something bad. Did you do something bad? You know, so the cops are angry with you?
I don't know. Maybe?
So why don't you just say you're sorry? It always works for me.
They wouldn't listen. Nobody ever listens.
There's quite a bit that changes in this scene too, as far as the conversation goes. In the original, Eddie denies having done anything like robbery or murder and gets called a gutless fatso for it. He obviously takes offense at Laura's insult and then says that he only ran because he was scared. He denies knowing what the cops are doing, while also saying that he can't talk to the cops because they wouldn't believe him and nobody would ever forgive him for what he did. Whatever it was, either Eddie is clueless about why the cops were after him, even though he just denied that they were, or he knows but doesn't feel like telling Laura. I suppose this could be written this way to make Eddie seem less reliable about knowing what's going on, even with himself, though I suspect it was just inconsistent writing. This isn't the case in Remake. Eddie gives Laura a hard time for screaming during a movie, and Laura retorts that it was a rat and he would have screamed too, what with him being a gutless fatso. As in the original, Eddie is insulted, but this time actually sounds hurt instead of just sounding like he thought Laura was being rude. This time, when asked about being followed by the cops, Eddie says that he doesn't think that's the case, but not because they were never after him, only that they didn't follow him to Silent Hill. That might have been what the original was going for, but the dialogue wasn't as clear. He also isn't worried since he blocked the door. Now, I saw some people use this line as proof that the remake was anti-cop or even full-on ACAB.
Besides, I blocked the door, so no one could get in. Not the cops, and not these other monsters.
Did you catch it? I didn't until it was pointed out. The accusation hinges on the phrase, not the cops and not these other monsters. In case you still don't get it, it's that Eddie is implying that the monsters he sees in Silent Hill, either actual monsters or a euphemism for other people, are monsters in the same way that cops are monsters. The clause, these other, means other of the same type. However, you could also see it as there is this thing over here and these other things over here that are different. However, even if Eddie does view the cops as monsters, that doesn't mean that the player is supposed to nod in agreement and say, that's right, Eddie, all cops are monsters. In fact, all cops are bastards as well. So, once again, this is an example of people online just looking for anything and everything they could to crap on the game and call it woke. It's all nonsense. The conversation continues with Laura calling Eddie weird and him stating that everyone says that about him. Again, you can hear the dejected tone in his voice. And even without having it spelled out for us, we can infer that Eddie has been bullied for a while and has even internalized it to some extent. In a sense, he's sort of the same as Angela, though obviously they experience very different types of abuse. Incidentally, Eddie too suffered abuse from his father, though that was of a verbal nature from what we know, though I suppose physical abuse could have been involved too, it's just not spelled out for us like it is with Angela. Laura says people call her weird too and asks why Eddie just doesn't say he's sorry if he did something bad. He then says they wouldn't listen because nobody ever does. Again, you can hear the sadness in Eddie's voice, which really helps to make him seem more like a real person and not just some stereotypical fat guy in a video game.
Eddie? Oh, you're...
James. We met in the apartment building?
Yeah, I remember, but...
Are you alone here, Eddie?
No.
Bye-bye.
Wait! Come back! Eddie, let's go after her.
Huh? Laura? But why?
Laura. Is that her name?
That's what she said.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
She said she was fine by herself. She said a fatso like me would just slow her down.
Forget you.
Eddie?
Oh. You're,
James. We met back at the apartment building.
Yeah. I remember.
I see that you didn't make it out yet.
Yeah. I just didn't get around to it yet.
At least you got your appetite back. Are you alone here, Eddie?
No.
Well,
That's probably just Laura messing around.
the little girl? Laura, is that her name?
That's what she said.
I'm gonna go look for her. You coming?
Now you want me to come with you?
Never mind.
James heads down to where he hears the voices, and with Laura gone, only Eddie is there scooping ice cream out of a container into his mouth. It's sort of a gross thing to see, but it's fitting for Eddie. As sympathetic as we're supposed to feel for him, it's also clear that Eddie does things to invite ridicule on himself through his behavior. That doesn't justify being cruel to someone like him, but it does show that he isn't helping the situation. Anyway, Eddie seems disinterested in speaking to James, even acting as if he doesn't remember his name. And to be fair, he may not. I'm just not sure I believe that he forgot it so soon. In fact, after James's comments about Eddie's appetite returning, you can see a look of anger on Eddie's face because he feels that this was an insult. I assume James was just being sarcastic and wasn't trying to be insulting on purpose, but you never know how your words will be taken, and Eddie clearly takes offense to it, even if he doesn't say it outright. We can see it written on his face. In fact, he immediately puts the ice cream down and wipes his hand on his shirt, possibly hoping to avoid any further insults. And when James asks Eddie if he's coming along, you can hear the incredulity and disdain in Eddie's voice. Now you want me to come with you? As I said earlier, Eddie was obviously hurt by James rejecting his request to help him escape by letting him tag along. It's pretty easy to understand why. Nobody wants him around, nobody ever listens, and all anyone does is insult him and treat him like garbage. In the original, Eddie's just sort of dumb and shrugs off needing to go after Laura because she'll be fine, citing her words that a big fatso like him would just slow her down. James obviously gets fed up and yells, "Forget you," at Eddie before heading off. And in Remake, Eddie rejects James this time, and you can hear an undercurrent of "screw you" in Eddie's voice. Already, we start to see the resentment Eddie has for James beginning to build, and the level of anger beneath the surface. A lot of this is credit to the voice actor, but the facial capture really helps sell this too. After James leaves, Eddie returns to slopping ice cream into his face because with James gone and presumably having told him off, there's no one else around to judge him for acting like a slob. The next encounter between Eddie and James is, of course, Toluca Prison.
Killing a person ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head. Pow.
You killed him?
But it wasn't my fault. He made me do it.
Calm down, Eddie. Tell me what happened.
That guy, he had it coming. I didn't do anything. He just came after me. Besides, he was making fun of me with his eyes, like that other one.
Just for that, you killed him?
What do you mean, just for that?
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
Oh yeah? Why not? Till now I always let people walk all over me. Just like that stupid dog. He had it coming too.
Eddie.
I was just joking, James. He was dead when I got here, honest. Anyway, I gotta run.
You're going out there alone?
Yeah.
Eddie?
Ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head and pow.
Eddie?
Oh, hi, James.
What happened here? Who was that?
I don't know. It just came at me.
Okay. So he attacked you, and you shot him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He made me do it.
Okay, calm down, Eddie. Any idea why he would do that?
I don't know. He came out of nowhere. Tried sneaking up on me in the dark. I heard footsteps, so I turned back and he was right there.
And you could tell that he wanted to hurt you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way he looked at me, I just had to do it.
He looked at you? I thought you said he came at you.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it in his eyes.
His eyes.
He kept looking at me, making fun of me. And I told him not to, but he didn't listen.
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
You should see your face, James. I was just joking. The guy was dead when I got here. I got you, didn't I? Well, anyway, I better get going.
Wait. You're gonna go out there alone?
Yeah.
I'll say one thing first. I think both did a serviceable job of showing that Eddie had started to lose it. Both scenes begin with Eddie talking about how easy it is to kill someone, and then claiming that the dead person next to him was shot in self-defense. However, Remake Eddie is so much more terrifying here. Notice that James gives Eddie a self-defense scenario, and Eddie jumps on it to use it as an excuse. It's sort of like when you're confronting someone who did something bad, and you're sure you know why they did it, but you ask them if they did it for some reason that would make sense, and they repeat it back to you, but it doesn't sound convincing, like, oh yeah, that's why I did the thing. Sure, man, that's exactly right. How did you know? Also, as the scene progresses and James tries to tell Eddie he can't just kill someone for looking at him, Eddie points the gun at him, which is not something that happened in the original. His laugh when he tells James it was all a joke is creepy and terrifying, and it makes his claim of it being a joke sound all the more hollow. Like, we know he's lying, but we dare not call him out on it. The look in his eyes has deteriorated from when we first met him. Whatever sanity was left in Eddie is now gone, and he has turned into a complete psychopath. Of all the things in Silent Hill for James to worry about, Eddie is now one of the most dangerous ones. I don't want to say much more since I think this scene speaks for itself. Eddie is truly a terrifying character at this point, and it's clear that even James is wary of him, but for good reason. At the end of the labyrinth, James confronts Eddie for the last time.
Eddie? What are you doing?
What does it look like? He always busted my balls. You fat, disgusting piece of shit. You make me sick. Fat ass, you're nothing but a waste of skin. You're so ugly, even your mama don't love you. Well, maybe he was right. Maybe I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead. And the corpse can't laugh. From now on, if anyone makes fun of me, I'll kill him. Just like that.
Eddie, have you gone nuts?
I knew it. You too. You're just like him, James.
Hey, I didn't mean anything.
Don't bother. I understand. You've been laughing at me all along, haven't you? Ever since we first met. I'll kill you, James! Do you know what it does to you, James? When you're hated, picked on, spit on, just because of the way you look? After you've been laughed at your whole friggin' life? That's why I ran away after I killed the dog. Ran away like a scared little girl. Yeah, I killed that dog. It was fun. It tried to chew its own guts out. Finally died all curled up in a ball. Then he came after me. I shot him too, right in the leg. He cried more than the dog. He's gonna have a hard time playing football on what's left of that knee.
You think it's okay to kill people? You need help, Eddie.
Don't get all holy on me, James. This town called you too. You and me are the same. We're not like other people. Don't you know that? Let's party!
Eddie? Eddie? I killed a human being. A human being. Mary. Did you really die 3 years ago?
Couldn't leave well enough alone, huh? You just had to follow me all the way out here. How many times do I have to kill you?
Eddie. Whoa, Eddie. It's me.
Oh. Hi, James.
Eddie, what are you doing?
What's it look like I'm doing? You fat, disgusting piece of shit, you make me sick. You gonna cry, fat ass? You gonna run to your mama? Waste of skin, why don't you just kill yourself? Well, maybe he was right. Maybe I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead. And a corpse can't laugh!
Eddie.
What's that? You want to talk down to me some more? Tell me to relax? You're just like the rest of them, James.
No, I don't want.
Shut up! You think I'm stupid. You think I don't see it. But you've been laughing at me all along. Ever since we first met. But you ain't laughing now, are you?
You need help, Eddie.
Don't get all holy on me, James. This town called you too. Yeah, you and me are the same. We're not like other people, don't you know that? Well, you're about to find out. Do you know what it does to you, James? When you're hated, picked on, spit on, just because of the way you look? Yeah, I ran away after I killed that dog. But you know what? It was fun. It tried to chew its own guts up. Finally died all curled up in a ball. Then he came after me. I shot him too, right in the leg. He cried more than the dog. And now it's your turn, James.
Again, it's clear in both versions that Eddie has gone off the deep end, but the way Remake portrays this is so much darker. In both versions, Eddie quotes some of the insults he's heard seemingly from his own father, though I suppose someone else could have brought up his mother not loving him as an insult. Still, I think the idea is that it's his own dad saying these horrible things. In Remake, the quote differs slightly, with one of the statements being explicit that Eddie should just kill himself since he's so useless. There is so much anger and rage in Eddie's voice this time, and when he says a corpse can't laugh, each of the last three words is accentuated with a gunshot into a corpse. This time, instead of saying he'll kill anyone who makes fun of him, Eddie lashes out at James specifically. He accuses James of being condescending and laughing at him behind his back and thinking he's just some stupid oaf. In fact, that's probably a line directed at the player as well. Is that what we've thought about Eddie the whole time? The insults he cites are the same sort of insults hurled at one another through the anonymity of the internet, that's for sure, especially the last line about offing oneself. Eddie continues to get in James's face with a gun until James cold cocks him to the ground. This seems to, surprisingly, calm Eddie down a minute, though he then tells James that he's the same. They've both been called to the town. Like Angela, Eddie makes this accusation without actually knowing the truth. He's projecting his own motives and attitude onto James. After all, if Eddie was called here for shooting and maiming or even killing, then surely that's why James is there. He's not entirely wrong, but it's a lucky guess more than him actually seeing something James has done to indicate he's a killer. Eddie guessed right based on projection, not facts and evidence to him. The interactions continue in the main boss arena for Eddie. The boss fight goes on as you would expect, being a bit more heightened and intense than the original. The only line that really gets cut here is the line about someone he shot not being able to play football anymore. Incidentally, this could mean that either my assumption about his father was wrong and the entire time he was talking about some jock that bullied him his whole life, or jocks in general, or this is someone else entirely. I suppose his father could have been a jock who loved football. Anyway, whoever he's speaking of would obviously be the person who owned the dog as well. This is also the first time he mentions shooting a dog. That line didn't come up when Eddie and James first met in the prison like it did in the original. It does seem out of place in Remake for Eddie to say, "Yeah, I shot that dog," since I don't recall him mentioning it earlier. But as far as I know, that dialogue wasn't patched in later, so this could just be him beginning to confess to things to psych out James. Either way, aside from some general taunting, there isn't much else. Eddie is a major threat here, and there's no coincidence that this is a meat locker. Again, it's not uncommon to see Eddie's breath throughout the various scenes, and what's another good place to see it than in a meat locker? Also, the meat looks like the bodies of overweight people, almost. The connection to Eddie is pretty obvious. And after taking a few more rounds than it would normally take to kill a person, Eddie finally dies, slumped onto the ground. As I said at the beginning, I love what they did with Eddie. Rather than just being a dumb, obnoxious oaf who feels more like a stereotype than anything else, Eddie feels like a real person. I think we've all known people like Eddie, or we've probably felt like Eddie at times. Many have either bullied people like him or been on the receiving end of the abuse. And hopefully most of us grew out of that. I think having Eddie being more grounded and feeling like a real person makes it more relatable and understandable. By that, I just mean that we can understand how someone like him ended up on that trajectory of becoming deranged and hating everyone around them and even taking offense at things that weren't intended to be an offense. In other words, we've all interacted with Reddit. Still, I think it also helps underscore how our words can affect someone negatively even if we don't mean to, so be careful what you say. Sometimes it's better not to say anything. Of course, Eddie's an extreme case, and he was already on this path long before James met him, which is why Eddie had been called to the town in the first place. And that's going to be it for this one. And next time, we have our final video focusing on everyone's favorite 8-year-old brat, Laura. See you in the next one.